going with the discussions about international investments. International investments have a different outlook because there are many participating countries, companies from different countries, or maybe the supplier can be in one country and the beneficiary can be in another country. So all these are part of international investment. So when we talk about international investment and when we make a comparison between the domestic investment, what we can find is broadly, why do we need international investment? The answer to that question would be, it is an additional opportunity for firms or for companies or for governments for getting financial support. When we look from the perspective of a business, it appears to be like that. When we look from the perspective of investors, it gives us another avenue to diversify our portfolio so that the risk exposure can be minimum. So these are the broad benefits of why we are going with the discussion about international investment. International investment, as the word indicates, it includes all the investments that are made in different countries other than the domestic country. So the international investments as such, it would be happening in foreign countries, different foreign nations. It can be in their local currency, right? And later, since the investments are made in the local currency, we know that there is conversion of domestic currency into a foreign currency. So the concept of exchange rate is applicable in the context of international investments. Now, when we look into what are the instruments available for international investments, there are many types of investments, instruments like IDR, ADR, GDR, Global Depository Receipts, or American Depository Receipts, International Depository Receipts, or Indian Depository Receipts. There are different channels like foreign direct investments, foreign institutional investments, foreign portfolio investments. Apart from that, there are a lot of loans or financial assistance that are provided in foreign currency by different international bodies, especially to the emerging and growing economies, or maybe to the underdeveloped economies. So all these are the background for our discussion on international investments. So let's discuss about what is international investment, what are the instruments that will be applicable in the context of international investments, and what are the factors that will be affecting the flow of international investment. These are the broader areas which we would be discussing in our today's class, right? So first, introduction to international investment. Investments made outside the domestic markets will be qualified under the category of international investments. And the basic benefit of going for international investment is portfolio diversification, because an investor can beat against the pressures of political or political calamities or natural calamities, political uncertainties, or economic conditions, taking or considering all these different aspects. International investments or avenues give an opportunity for the investor to diversify the portfolio and thereby minimizing the risk exposure. So these are the broad benefit of making available the avenues for international investments. And international investments broadly can be brought under those that are being floated by governments or government-aided funds. Then it also include cross-border loans, like an Indian investor can provide loan to a foreign investor or vice versa. Foreign portfolio investment, where we go with the investment in shares or mutual funds or any type of financial instruments. Foreign direct investment, which includes direct participation in the operation and management of companies or corporates, which is a little more involved type of foreign investments. So all these can be the broad categories of international investments, right? Now, the first one, we are slowly entering into the different types of international investments and even international financial assistance. This comes under the category of financial assistance being provided from the international market. This is ODA, Official Development Assistance, which is provided to developing countries for meeting their challenges that are related with economic development or for the welfare of the people. It is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, maintains a list of developing countries and territories to which the aid, if the aid is given to these countries, it will qualify under the category of ODA. Currently, that list contains 150 countries or territories. We are one among them. India is in the list of developing countries where the well-developed or nations which are having surplus fund can extend their fund towards the development under the category of ODA. We have received also a lot of funds from different nations like US, UK. We have received that for various purposes. So it is defined as government aid designed to promote economic development, especially in the context of developing countries. ODA, Official Development Assistance. An Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, has identified a list of countries which can be considered for the extension of this official development assistance. See, this is the list of countries that will be in the category of Asia, South and Central Asia. These are the countries that are being qualified. Of course, the list is very huge because there are 150 countries, 150 plus countries, and the revised list will be published by OECD as and when there is a need on regular intervals. This is the latest list of South and Central Asia nations which are included under ODA. As you can see, all our neighboring countries are included in that. We are one among that, which is eligible for receiving the financial assistance from those nations which have surplus funds at times of need, maybe for ensuring food security, maybe for the purpose of infrastructure development, or maybe for the purpose of meeting some calamity or the destructions or damages caused due to some calamity. All these are equally applicable under this category. Now, this is a list. This again, I couldn't get the recent one. This is ODA assistance extended to the air transport during the period of 2005-13. Okay, so where you can see that major ODA country contributions to the air transport sector in the developing countries were extended. Main contribution was made by Japan, 47.85% under ODA category. The support extended was by Japan, and of course it was followed by multilaterals and private donors. Individuals, business groups, all can go with the donation to the ODA countries. Especially in this case, it is to the air transport, which has happened between 2003 to 2005 to 13, where you can see individuals 33.32% had been contributed by the individuals, the private corporates. Generally, it's not individuals, it is corporates, the registered corporates and organizations, charitable organizations, which have contributed to the development of air transport in the developing nations. And it is followed by United States. When we look from the perspective of nations, the next contributor here is US, United States, with a contribution of 8% during this period for the development of air transportation facility in the developing nations. And the list goes like that. Even France, Republic of Korea, Denmark, all have made significant contributions towards the development of air transport. So all these contributions are said to happen in the ODA country or ODA listed countries, that is countries which being identified for receiving assistance, financial assistance. And these contributions were made by these companies to the air transport sector in the identified developing countries. Okay, so this is just a statistics. The next, which we are going to discuss, is about foreign direct investment. Most of you are familiar with this terminology, FDI. Foreign direct investment is an investment in the form of controlling over ownership in a business in one country by an entity based in another country. You might be wanting to start your business, or you want to extend your business to another country. So FDI is one route through which you can bring your capital into another country. And when we look into the types or the ways in which FDI flow is happening in the international market, it can be like horizontal FDI, vertical FDI, conglomerate FDI, platform FDI. Here, what we have to remember here is, in case of horizontal FDI, you enter into a collaboration with, say, two automobile companies coming together. Yeah, Hyundai. It came to collaborate with another company in India to actually market their vehicles through a combination. So when you go with a combination, that is when you enter into a foreign country in the same vertical, horizontal, in the same vertical, in the same industry, a car manufacturing company is entering into Indian market with the same business through direct investment in the capital of a company, that will be coming as foreign direct. Maruti Suzuki, that was a venture which came up but later left. So foreign direct investment in the horizontal means you're entering the same kind of business in a foreign industry. Then vertical, here what we have to remember is this is very popular in most of the multinational organization. This is actually a collaboration or an integration that is purely based on the supply chain. Imagine that you are a coffee selling company in US, but you are in need, the coffee productions in US does not meet your existing requirements. So in that case, as a company from United States, you have equal opportunity to enter into integration, or as we say, to go with investments in those countries where those can go with supply of coffee beans. Because you find it difficult to get your raw material for your production process from your domestic country. That is here in this example is United States. So what you can do is you can align your business with other countries which is having a favorable position for the supply of coffee bean. So that type of direct investment will be categorized as vertical investment. You are moving down supply chain. You want coffee beans. Or say you can see software industries making collaborations in India through business process outsourcing. It also can be categorized under, some of the companies come with the development aspect. Some of the companies, they are just outsourcing their the aligned activity to small companies in India, or by making investments in India, by making direct investments in some of the companies, either by going with a merger or they start up small units here in India. Right. So this is foreign direct investment through participation in the supply chain. Basically, that will be with respect to supply chain activities, warehousing facilities, or marketing facilities. Any of these will be brought under the category of vertical. So your collaboration is not with the same in the coffee manufacturing company is not going to go with collaboration or not going to make investments in the field of manufacturing in India, but they are going to make investments with coffee producers, which may be available in India or Vietnam or any other nation, which can go with supply of quality, good quality of coffee beans. So that is vertical integration. Conglomerate FDI is you are going with investments in totally different segments. Maybe you imagine that Walmart or as we say, some of the Tesco, generally they are popular as the supermarkets and going with selling consumer durable product. Imagine they are going to make investments in technology. They have not ventured into technology production or technology integrated business. They have not ventured into that. If they are going into that, that will be brought under conglomerate, because we know that Walmart or Tesco, they are going with the consumer durable food buying and retailers as well as wholesalers for the different food chains, and they have big supermarkets, all these. So when you are entering into a completely different business, it's not something contributing to your existing business, but you are entering into a completely different business activity that will be brought under conglomerate. And platform FDI is sometimes this is very common, very popular in like perfume manufacturing companies. What they will do is they have their head office in one country. Maybe the manufacturing process happens in another country, taking care of the availability of raw materials. And most of these products will be taken to a third country for its marketing and sales. Some of it may be floated in the country of production, but majority of it will be going to a third country. So such a process will be brought under platform FDI. That is, you are headquartered in one country, your parent, say US, you go with your production process in some of the country, maybe Brazil, then your selling is concentrated in UK market. This is an example of platform FDI. Majority of it, if your major market share is in UK, your domestic, your parent nation is US, your production is happening in Brazil or let's say Australia or any other country, depending upon the availability of raw material. But most of your market share is floated. Majority of the market share may be in a different country, in our example, UK. This is an example of platform FDI. Okay, so foreign direct investment involves direct participation in the ownership and control of a business in one country by an entity from a different country, from a foreign country. The FDI routes, as you can see in front of you, FDI routes can be classified into two. One is automatic route, another one is approval route. As the name says, automatic route is where there are less restrictions. A foreign company can immediately enter into the market, set up their business and go with doing their business. Just an approval is needed. That's all. Does not require a prior approval, but they have to submit the application, and the application is channeled through an automatic route. As you submit, you will receive. There is no other procedures. That's why it said do not require a prior approval. They can come, apply, and then do their business. The example which I put is presently manufacturing sector is considered to be an automatic country. The present policy of the government is to encourage manufacturing happening in the, or to boost the manufacturing industry So a foreign manufacturer is allowed to set up their business and do the manufacturing process. Only condition is they have to use certain percentage of local resources and they have to employ certain people from the local community, but they can go with their production process without getting without any further restrictions. Automatic approval is received. Whereas in case of approval route, here there are mandatory restrictions with respect to starting of business, especially with in the context of financial services sector, mutual fund industry, life insurance sector, health sector. All these prior approval of the Reserve Bank of India, Ministry of Foreign Affairs is required before you can start the process of starting your business or investing in the business through FDI. So this is approval. That's why it is called as approval. Prior approval, and the restrictions are more little stringent, and you have to follow a lengthy of procedures for getting this approval. So FDI route can be categorized into the automatic route and approval route. Now, just few glimpses of the recent FDI policy in India. Later, you would be preparing in detail about the present FDI policy. The latest consolidated foreign investment policy, foreign direct investment policy, even though there are revisions which has come after that, the major consolidation happened in October 15, 2020. And as per the report, India had witnessed a 16% YOY rise, year-on-year rise in FDI to $27.1 billion during April to August period of 2020. Okay, so that's the latest available record. We had an increase in our FDI, and India is third among the world nations, attractive destination among the world countries in the case of FDI. Next to US, China, we are the third attractive location for FDI investors. So that's a good news for us. And of course, another policy which has come here is mandatory registration, because now we can see that a lot of e-commerce companies, without having any direct approval or without requiring any direct approval, they can enter into market through floating their products. But in fact, in order to track the performance of these e-commerce sectors, e-commerce with respect to foreign investment, they have to maintain a statutory audit report as for every that is the dated to September 30 of every year. They have to maintain an audit report. That's a kind of control that is being exercised by government to bring transparency into the operations of these e-commerce providers, e-commerce companies. Okay, so that again came up as part of FDI Policy of India in 2020, which was not there earlier. Before, prior to that, we did not have such condition, which was newly introduced, that they have to go with the auditor report at the end of the year, rounding to September 30th. Okay, so these are some of the major policy taken in the consolidated FDI policy, which was released in October 2020. Now, the next aspect which we would be discussing is foreign portfolio investment, which is otherwise called as FPI. This is also a route for foreign investment in India and vice versa. And FPI holdings can include in the form of stocks or American depository receipts, global depository receipts, bonds, mutual funds, or exchange traded funds. But the basic difference between foreign direct investments and foreign portfolio investment is this is a passive kind of ownership. Why? The investors are not directly involved in the ownership and management of a particular company or firm. In fact, they are indirectly investing into the shares or mutual funds or bonds floated by these companies. So it's maybe if they go with investment in mutual fund, it is a diversified portfolio where they go with the investment. So that is why FPI is said to be a passive ownership in the foreign investment. Okay, so again, as you can see, the influence of FPI will be not as evident as what is happening with respect to foreign direct investment. The third one is foreign institutional investors. Foreign institutional investors are those which will qualify under the category of maybe hedge fund manager or pension fund manager or mutual fund manager or banks or insurance firms. These institutions which are registered to invest in foreign country. Some of our funds like SBI mutual fund, we have investments, some funds which concentrate on investments in foreign markets. Same as the way we have some foreign companies which are being here present in Indian markets, making their investments. So this is through the channel called foreign institutional investors. And what we have to remember is any foreign institutional investor which is trying to invest in Indian market should get the prior approval of Security Exchange Board of India. But we have often heard referring FII as hot money because they would be coming to a market with substantial sum. But at the same time, we have a risk of these money being pulled by them on one fine morning. So that will adversely affect Indian markets if we are talking about the case of India. So that's why the FII is often referred to as hot money for any market. We have to track the movement of these very clearly. Otherwise, it might lead to some negative impact in the stock market or in the financial market, because they will be coming up with a lot of fun. And when these people, when the institutional investors find some other market to be more attractive than Indian market, there is every possibility that they would be withdrawing money from India to that location. We had severe kind of such experience during the period of 1819 and all. A lot of our institutional investors were moving to different markets for better return. But now, because of the performance of our market, because of the less volatility or decrease in the volatility rate, much of it has come back, and we are actually having an increase in the growth of FII also. So this is a foreign institutional investor. Then we said that foreign institutional investors can come up with different types of deposit options like ADR, GDR, or as we said about bonds or mutual funds. So this is one type of investment which can be chosen by foreign institutional investors. If international deposit receipt is issued by a bank as evidence of ownership of one or more shares of the underlying stock of a foreign corporation that the bond hold. In nutshell, this is, suppose an investor in US wants to make up an investment in the shares of a company in UK. Directly, the investor cannot approach the market. One route through which it can approach the market is ADR, American Depository Receipts. According to that, the bank or the financial institutions will be issuing the American Depository Receipt to an investor in US, indicating the amount of his investment in the shares of a company in UK, company listed in UK. It will be a bundle. Say, suppose if I want to invest in one company, it will contain like 20 shares of one company being bundled together into one instrument called ADR, one unit. So this is one unit, but this will be a group of shares, a bundled, right? So that is one good example of international depository receipt. Same as the case, it can be global depository receipt also. Like, an investor in India can make or can go with investment in the shares of any country by investing in global depository receipt issued by Indian banks. So this is an opportunity for the investors to invest in the share market of other countries, to invest in the shares of another country. I cannot go and invest in the shares that's been listed in New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. I cannot do that. I have to go through a route called GDR. So that is it. So I had already explained about American Depository. So an example to International Depository Receipt is ADR. There are GDR, IDR, ADR, all this will be qualifying under the category of International Depository Receipt. Now, American Depository Receipt, ADR, a certificate issued by US bank that represents shares in foreign stock. I said the example of UK, right? Suppose an investor and US citizen wants to invest in the shares of UK that's been listed in UK market. It can be done through American Depository Receipt that's been issued by US bank. And these certificates are traded on American Stock Exchange. And another thing which we have to remember is this will be priced in US dollars because this has been issued by the bank or financial institution in US in dollars. And it is one way of making investments in overseas market, making investments in the shares of overseas companies. This is one way through which an American investor can invest in the shares being floated by companies in other countries. Okay, same as way. Global depository receipt is another way to tap the global equity market. It is also a method for companies to go. See, when I am investing, say we were talking about American Depository Receipt. When an American investor is investing in the shares of company in UK, automatically what is happening is the company is getting financial assistance from US. It's an opportunity for the company to tap finance from US market. That's happening. Indirectly, that is happening. So that is why it is said this is a instrument. Global Depository Receipt is an instrument to tap the fund from foreign country. So can raise foreign currency funds by issuing equity shares in a foreign country. No country can go with direct issue, but you have to either get your company listed in a foreign stock exchange. Some of our companies are listed in the foreign because you already have some kind of operations over there. You have a company being set up and operating in that country. Otherwise, you can go through this route called Global Depository Receipt. I have put an example, a company based in USA willing to get its stock listed on German Stock Exchange can do so with the help of GDR. Why? Because if the company wants to tap finance from Germany, and there are German investors who are interested to invest in the US company, it can happen through Global Depository Receipt. How? The company will be going with issue of GDR in the German stock exchange, which will be traded in the German stock market, and German investors can go with investing in that. So this is the concept of Global Depository Receipt, or otherwise called as GDR. Then this is very common, external commercial borrowing. It comes under the category of debt. It will be appearing as debt in your capital structure when it is in the it is from a foreign country. There is something happening called exchange rate, because the loan will be given to you in foreign currency, which you need to convert that to domestic currency. And at the time of repayment, you have to go with the payment of interest and the principal in the currency at which you were given with, that is the currency of the foreign country. So here I have put that debt shouldered by an eligible entity in India for solely commercial purpose from any entity outside India. Debt shouldered, taken, you are taking the financial assistance, or you are borrowing money from a foreign market, and external commercial borrowings are very common. Normally they are given for a period of 3 years. And here also there are two routes, like approval route and automatic route. Certain industries to a restricted amount, they can go with the automatic route. If it is going beyond that, that will go with the approval route, where you have to get the approval. And then foreign currency borrowing is more or less similar. But here in this case, what you have to remember is sometimes it's not mandatory, but in certain cases, external commercial borrowing, in case of external commercial borrowing, there will be a bank which will be acting as an intermediary. The loan on your behalf will be taken up by the bank in between, and the banker will be facilitating in providing the loan to the concerned person, external commercial borrowing. But here, when you are taking up, see, I have put an example, borrow money from in a foreign currency, for example, Swiss franc, and you will have to repay the loan in this currency as well. So that foreign currency borrowing would be definitely, this is also external commercial borrowing, and here this also qualifies under external commercial borrowing. The broader difference between these two is this will happen in foreign currency, so there is conversion always mandatory to the local currency, and the payment of principal and interest also will happen in the foreign currency, in this example Swiss franc. Okay. So this is an example of foreign currency borrowing. Here also this is happening to be a borrowing, but it can happen in the local currency. Maybe the borrowing can be undertaken in dollar. It's not mandatory that you have to go with the currency from the country which is lending to you. So that's a primary difference, but both of it qualifies under commercial borrowing. Now, the last part of our today's discussion is with respect to country risk analysis. See, I said when I was discussing about foreign institutional or foreign portfolio investments or foreign institutional investors, we introduced the word called hot money. Right. Why? Because these institutional investors always will be looking at different markets, and then selection will be based on the risk and return. Risk and return from the as an overview about a country profile. So if India is appearing to be comparatively less riskier with a promise to give more return, automatically the ranking of country will come up along with the other nation. So that happens through the process called country risk analysis, assessing the potential risk and rewards associated with the country where you are making the investments or doing business. So it is applicable to both. Doing business will be related with FDI, foreign direct investment. Making investment will be associated with foreign portfolio investments and foreign investment, institutional investment. Both these parties, when they decide about whether to invest in a country, they will be going with something called as country risk analysis. And that can look into what is the level of political uncertainty, or what is political stability that is applicable for a country, what kind of economic scenario, or what is the present condition with respect to the economic indicators of that country. And they also will look into the social factors, demographic factors, the profile of the people of that country, the scope for the business to see. When I'm trying to start a business in a particular country, I should be knowing whether the country, the environment of that country is favorable for me to carry on with my business. So that in that, one important factor is social factor, the support which I can receive from the society, the availability of skilled persons, the technical assistance which I can get, the other availability of other type of resources which I need for my business. All these are brought under the heading of country risk analysis. So that's how it's been to the topic under discussion. Whenever there is an international investment, or whenever there is a decision that is taken with respect to international investment, that will definitely be based on the country risk analysis, the benchmark, the point received by that country in the world market. So that's what country risk analysis. This is just a risk political stability index that was published by globaleconomy.com recently in 2019. And the basic analysis was done with respect to political stability. And you can see none of the so-called popular developed nations have appeared over there. US and all, I think it is in 72nd rank. I've just taken the first 19. The list continues till 150 or something. And US and other developed economies are below the 50th rank. So these are some of the countries which has been marked as politically stable based on the indicators. So negative 2.5 means total instability in that country. Positive 2.5 means they are considered to be strong. The highest in that rating is Iceland with 1.66. This is an example of political stability index. Likewise, World Bank also publishes occasionally the details regarding the different economic indicators as well as social indicators in a country perspective. The report is so big, that's why I did not bring into the class, but you can just visit World Bank site. You can see that the recent one came in, I think July 2021 report has come. You can just browse through that, and it is interesting to know that some of the world leaders have not even come in the first 10 or 15 ranking in many of the criteria. So country risk analysis is purely a contextual aspect that will be changing according to the changes in the internal and external environment of a particular nation. And that is greatly affecting the amount, the volume of financial international investments coming into that country. So that's the importance of this. And this is a recent figure, the recent figure which I could bring it for you, which is talking about the direct investment position of United States in India. You can see that it has increased. In 2000, it was just 2.38, and now in 2020, it is standing at 41.9. So India, in US dollar, okay, in US billion, in figures, dollar billion being expressed. So you can see that how far as an economy we are progressing, and we have become more attractive to some of the leaders in the world. So that is why this talks about direct investment, that is the foreign US-based companies coming here and setting up their business. That's the ratio here. That's the amount. The amount has gone up so to this much, but maybe there was a slight dip after 2017. That confusion is being identified because of this digital transformation that has happened in India. The experts are of the opinion that because of that, they are just waiting for the market to stabilize to continue with their investments. This is just an awareness picture. So how attractive India has become for the foreign investors. That is basically because of good banking regulations, and also an efficient, we are not fully efficient as we say, but a well-controlled market with excellent regulations and predictability and transparency. These are few factors that will attract foreign investors to any nation. So India can offer that. And of course, the demographic profile of the country is another factor which is attracting many countries here. The abundance of human labor is another factor that is contributing to the setting up of more businesses within the country. But maybe political stability is an area where we have to work on, at the same time improving our economic indicators. Taking or considering all these aspects, if we can attract this much foreign investment, what about if we have some kind of improvement in these indicators? So that's the picture, the whole picture for India towards the future. And This is again another report being published by OECD regarding the type of investments that is happening, FDI and the investments that is happening in the foreign market during the in the world market during the COVID period. And you can see that there is a slight dip, seeing global FDI flows by 38%. Slight dip, slight, no, it's actually a huge dip. There is $846 billion dip in the FDI because of this COVID pandemic. And you can see that FDI top three destinations even during this period, where the first one is China, the second one is US, and the fourth one and third one is India. India in the third place. So this, from a country's perspective, this is very important for us. And here also you can see European nation had a dip of almost 0.73, and OECD countries that went with 51 per point, 73%, they had a huge dip. Then OECD went with 51%, G20 nations 40, and G20 non-OECD nations, they had a 9% dip. So this was a picture which was published by OECD recently regarding the FDI flows during the recent period. But they themselves, you can see the last statement, they themselves have said that there are signs for recovery. World markets are pitching up, and many of the economies have started showing positive results. That net result will come from the performance of business and industry within the nation. So this is all about, I was just giving you some information about the real-time information about how that is happening in the present scenario. So to have a recap, in our today's class, we started with talking about international investments. Now, international investments are actually helping international investments as well as source of fund from international markets are helping the world economies to progress by getting cooperation or by offering cooperation to each other. It gives another venue for the investors to diversify their portfolio. And these international investments primarily happen through different venues, which can happen either by contributing to the debt structure of a company, or it can happen through channels like foreign direct investment, where investments are made directly into the ownership of a company, which is considered to be little more less risky. Why? Because if you are into the ownership of a business, you may not be wanting to run away from that very easily. So that's why it is FDI route is considered to be less riskier than the FPI route, foreign institutional investment and foreign portfolio investment. And then, as we said, the other routes, primary routes, include the foreign portfolio investments and foreign institutional investors. Foreign portfolio are considered to be passive participation in the ownership of companies through various financial instruments like shares, mutual funds, or bonds, or through various receipts, like through various international investment avenues like ADR, American Depository Receipts, or Global Depository Receipts. All these will be qualifying under foreign portfolio investment, where you are investing in a company's shares through their financial instrument, right? And the next what we said was about foreign institutional investors, which normally includes the fund managers or insurance fund, life insurance corporations of different companies, or maybe the bond managers or asset management companies who will be approaching different countries for diversifying their portfolio. And in our discussion, we said that there is this money is considered to be hot money because there is risk of foreign institutional investors pulling this money at any time from a particular location and parking it in another location. based on the country risk analysis. They would be preferring to invest in a country which is little less riskier and which promise high return. So these two components will be guiding the investments of foreign institutional investments in any country. Then we talked about what is country risk analysis. Basically, when you go with a foreign investment, the primary factor, the primary aspect that will be that will be evaluated, or primary aspect that will be considered by any investor will be the risk and return. So that is analyzed through something called as country risk analysis. And broadly, the indicator would be giving information regarding the political stability, the economic conditions, the social and demographic profiles. All these would be analyzed, and an index is created to rank the country in the generally. That what we can see is it is arranged in the descending order. The country which gets the highest rank will be put in the top, and it will go in the descending order. And the country risk analysis is one such tool which is effectively used for making international investments. Yeah, this is our discussion.